America's fourth largest city, Houston, is the final resting place for many famous figures. In the meticulously maintained and very expensive Glenwood Cemetery, located above the north banks of the Buffalo Bayou in Houston, Texas, you can find the graves of numerous executives in the oil and gas and other Texas-based industries, or some political figures who were very important in the development of the city. For this episode of the History Graveyard YouTube channel, we'll be looking at the burial site of a woman who called Houston her home for much of the final 30 years of her life, but who gained fame in a different city, Hollywood, as one of film's leading ladies in the 1940s and 1950s, the beautiful actress Gene Tierney. Let's take a look at the burial plot of Gene Tierney and several of her family members. That's downtown Houston, way in the distance behind me, past the Buffalo Bayou, and we're at Glenwood Cemetery, and we're at the properties of the Lee family, and the grave just above where I'm standing is the great actress Gene Tierney. Gene Tierney, Academy Award nominated actress. Probably actually most famously, her role was in the movie Laura, and she died here in Houston at age 70. She was married to a oilman by the name of William Howard Lee, and they're buried pretty close to one another. They're also, her children are also buried at this plot as well. And again, this is the Glenwood Cemetery, gorgeous, very tree-lined cemetery with beautiful views of downtown Houston. This is where Howard Hughes is buried, who of course Gene Tierney at one point was associated with. Unfortunately, in this short video, I won't be able to provide a full portrait of the great actress Gene Tierney, but let's take a little bit of a look at her life. She was born in New York City on November 19, 1920, and the young Tierney grew up in an affluent family. She spent 2 years studying abroad in Switzerland, and she also attended the exclusive boarding school Miss Porter's in Farmington, Connecticut, where she followed closely in the building's halls the paths of socialites Barbara Hutton and Gloria Vanderbilt. A family vacation to California jump-started her acting career, where she began acting in small movie roles. She then married a little-known costume designer by the name of Oleg Cassini when she was just 20 years old. Yes, that Oleg Cassini. 2 years into her marriage, and with her first major film, Heaven Can Wait, vaulting her toward stardom, Tierney found out she was pregnant with her and Cassini's first child. A fan approached Tierney for an autograph, and they found out later that the fan had German measles. A few months later, Tierney's daughter Daria was born 2 months premature, and doctors later felt that the Fort Riley, Kansas encounter with that fan with the measles was the reason that Daria was born premature and was tragically born blind and would later become deaf. She actually required medical care her entire life. Tierney and Cassini would have one other daughter together, but they separated 5 years into their marriage. Tierney went on to star in more than 30 films by the time she was in her early 30s, and she earned one Academy Award nomination for the 1946 film Leave Her to Heaven. She also had star-making roles in many other films, such as Laura, Dragonwyck, and The Razor's Edge. She would continue to be romantically connected to many Hollywood actors after her divorce, as well as wealthy political figures. This was throughout the 1940s and 50s. One of the individuals she was associated with was the future American president, John Kennedy. However, it was during the 1950s that years of suffering with manic depression caught up to the actress. In her treatment for her mental illness, she actually was prescribed shock treatment. She had 27 sessions of shock treatment at one Connecticut facility. And then later, Tierney would speak out tremendously against this form of therapy in her 1979 autobiography, Self-Portrait. One frightening event happened in late 1957 when the actress visited her mother at the mom's Manhattan apartment. Tierney was then 27 years old, and during this visit, she walked out onto the ledge, which was 14 floors above the New York City streets, spending 20 minutes on a ledge in some kind of mental incident that resulted the actress heading to another facility, the Menninger Clinic in Kansas. Although she would make a minor film comeback in the 1960s, her Hollywood career definitely slowed down after a second marriage to Texas oil executive W. Howard Lee. Lee had earlier been married to actress Hedy Lamarr, and after the two divorced, Lee and Tierney married in July 1960. They remained together, living in both Houston and Florida until his death in 1981. A lifelong smoker, Tierney died 2 weeks shy of her 71st birthday on November 6, 1991. The Lee plot at Glenwood contains the graves of both Gene Tierney and her husband, W. Howard Lee, as well as both of their daughters and some other family members. It's located near the original cemetery offices at the Glenwood facility. Gene Tierney, an acting great and the subject of this episode of History Graveyards.